Today is calculating slope from a plotted line. So you're going to use your knowledge of how to plot a point. We're going to plot a couple points, draw a line to connect those points, and then calculate what's called slope. Slope is about steepness, how steep a line is, kind of like how steep a hill is outside. Some hills are more steep than others. Some hills are more difficult to climb than others because of how steep they are. Fun fact, while you're copying those down, slope, another word for slope is called the rate of change. The rate of change is actually the foundation for calculus. So technically, you're learning a little baby calculus today. The basics of that. But it's not bad, I promise. Alright, here we go. So there are 4 types of slopes. So we have 4 Cartesian coordinate planes here. Remember, we have the origin, we have the x-axis, the y-axis, right? We know all that. So I'm going to insert 4 different lines. So the first line we're going to have is this graph right here. Okay? So make sure you add that to your graph. So the way that I usually explain it is with a stick figure.
You want to do it in highlighter?
You can if you want to. It's up to you. It's usually better if you do have those in 2 different colors. It's a little bit easier to see what's going on. Alright, so if I have Bob climbing this hill, okay, he's climbing in this direction, okay. Is Bob climbing up the hill or down the hill? Up the hill, right? We always read graphs from left to right, just like you read words left to right. So if he's climbing up the hill, that is known as a positive slope, which makes sense because he's climbing upwards, so it's positive. So make sure you add the word positive underneath there. Okay, and then sometimes we have lines that look like this. Okay, or Bob is over here and he's traveling this way. So now Bob is traveling down the slope. Yeah, and that's the negative slope. Makes sense because it's going in a negative direction. It's going downward. But the trick is make sure you understand that Bob is going left to right. Catch up with us. So the first one is positive because we are ascending. We're going up. Second one is negative because we're descending. We're going downward. And then, what if I have a line that looks like this? Just straight across. So here's Bob. And he's walking across like that. So is Bob traveling in a positive direction or a negative direction? Neither. So what would be neither positive nor negative? Not quite. Think about a number line. What number on a number line is not positive and it's not negative? Yeah, it's 0. Very good. So this is a 0 slope. 0. Yeah, which makes sense. I'm not going up the hill, I'm not going down the hill, I'm just trucking on along. So that's a 0 slope. And then the most interesting, what if I have a slope that's like this?
Falling action. The story ends.
Exactly. So Bob would not be able to climb down this slope, right? Unless he's Spider-Man, which he's not. He's Bob. Okay? So he's falling down it. It's impossible to climb up the slope. It's impossible to climb down the slope. Okay? So if it's an impossible, we use the word undefined to describe this. And you also might see this symbol. It's a 0 with a line through it. That means undefined. Impossible.
Like on a fraction or something?
Like trying to divide by 0 is impossible. Undefined. And you'll get an error in your calculator. Yeah, same thing.
How do you know, like, which way Like, go back to positive and negative. How do you know which way Bob's going up? Down?
So you always read the graph left to right. Left to right. That's why I put Bob on this side of the graph. That's where he starts. Does that make sense? Yep. That's a great question. Great question. So that's the types of slope, which means when we start to calculate the slope, when I start actually putting numbers to this stuff, when I calculate this slope, I'm going to get a positive number. Okay. When I calculate this slope, I'm going to get a negative number. When I calculate this slope, I'm going to get a 0. And then when I calculate this, I should get something really wonky that's impossible. Right? It's going to be undefined. It's going to give you an error in the calculator.
So on the positive and negative ones, is there going to be like a problem going down it or something?
No, it's not. It's not going to be that interesting. It's simply going to be the directions that we travel. Think about the negative directions we went yesterday. The negative directions were going left. That gave us negative numbers. And going down gave us negative numbers. So, basically, that's what's involved here. Okay? Alright, everybody have all this down? Alright, so now let's calculate slope. So, now we're going to calculate slope. And the way we do this is by doing something called rise divided by run. Or you're going to hear me say rise over run a ton, a million times. Alright, we're going to draw a big graph and we're going to put multiple lines on it. So, here we go. Let me bump this up a little bit and we're going to go... Oh, it's okay. Is that what you needed, was just the words?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's go to, I'm going to go to 5 on each axis. I need that. Just realized examples. You can go ahead and add in those tick marks. You sure can.
Aren't they also called tally marks?
Tally marks are usually with frequency tables, like counting data.
I have to get these things in.
They're easy. She was just too smart for the Lord. She wasn't worthy of her time. Alright. Here we go. So let's do this. So we're going to calculate the slope, find slope of line passing through, and then I'm going to give us a location with points. So passing through -2, 1, and 0, 5. I'm going to write us some steps over here. Okay, ready? So we are, step 1 is we're going to plot our points. So let's do that. So let's plot, I'll do it with my highlighter. -2, 1. Where do you start when you plot a point?
The origin.
Start at the origin. -2 tells me to go what direction? Left 2. 1, 2. And then +1 tells me to go what direction?
Up 1.
Up 1. So we plot a point there. We don't have to label it. They didn't tell us to label it like ABC or anything. So we're just going to put a point there. And then we need to plot 0, 5. So we start where?
At the origin.
Origin. 0 tells me to go where?
Nowhere.
Nowhere. 5 tells me to go where?
Right. I
Mm-mm.
mean up.
Yes, the second value is my y value, so we're going to go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right there at the tip. Which technically, the reason why I have arrows at the end of all these is we're going to assume they extend forever and ever in all directions. Okay, so that's first step is to plot the points. Second step is to draw our line. So we are going to connect these points with a line. We're going to do our best to make it a straight line. And you don't have to extend it super far, but make sure you take it past the dot a little bit and throw an arrow at the end, showing that you can assume that it extends forever and ever.
Also straight through the top.
Yes.
So we like hide the arrows.
Yeah, you can if you want to. It's your notes. Alright, plot points, draw the line, and then we are going to count our rise. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So remember earlier I said to calculate the slope, we're going to do rise divided by run. Super duper important. Here we go. So underneath my points, I'm going to write this. Rise over run. Highly encourage you to write that every single time you do this until you are successfully brainwashed. Yep. That's the goal. Alright, so here's my analogy, if you will. You know the story of Romeo and Juliet? Yes. Okay, Romeo and Juliet came from feuding families, and they were really into each other and wanted to be together forever, right? But their families wouldn't let them, okay? So you are going to pretend that our points right here are Romeo and Juliet, okay? But here's the thing. They want to be together forever, okay? But they cannot travel down the line to be together because their families will catch them, okay? They'll get caught and get in trouble, okay? So instead, they're going to travel like Pac-Man. You know how Pac-Man travels? Waka, waka, waka. Okay. So they can travel vertically, waka, 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 to get to one another. And they can travel horizontally, waka, 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 to get to each other. Okay. So, to count, yes, you can. So, when we count our rise value, let me add a note here. We're going to start at the bottom. Start at bottom point. If you start at the bottom point, your life will be easier for sure. Alright, here we go. So we're going to start at the bottom point. Let's pretend this is Romeo. He's trying to get to Juliet, but he can only move like Pac-Man. Waka, 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 I love you. Okay, ready? So, so to get to Juliet, he's going to travel first. He's going to rise. So he's going to rise up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and stop. He's almost to Juliet. So my rise is a +4 because I went up 4. Does that make sense? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. The reason why I'm doing dots and not a line is because I don't want to make another line and it confuse me with this orange line. Okay, that's why I did dots. Alright, he's almost to Juliet. What direction does he need to travel to get to Juliet? He needs to travel to the right. 1, 2. Yay! So he's run. Yep, he's running. Let me add that over here. We got to count our run. Count our run. And our run is 2.
that the fourth step?
Yes.
Ooh.
And then step 5 is to simplify. Alright, and what is 4 divided by 2?
2.
It's 2. So the slope of that line is 2. And I knew it was going to be positive because Bob is climbing up the mountain, right? And the actual numerical value, the steepness of that line is 2. And you have successfully united Romeo and Juliet. Waka Waka style. Congratulations. Good with that? Let's do it again. We'll do it a little faster so it's not so clunky. And that's
So that's the answer.
yep, that's it. That's what you're doing today. So let's do it again. So this was one example. Let's do another example. Let me find some other points in other quadrants. Here we go. Let's do 1, -1. And 4, -2. So you see, if you struggled to plot points from yesterday, this would be very difficult because then you would struggle to do the very first step. So, very important that you learned what you're supposed to yesterday. Alrighty, so step 1, plot points. Let's go. Let me find a different color. Let's use, oh, I can use this color. Ready? So let's plot 1, -1. Start at the origin. 1 tells me to go where?
Over right.
Yeah, to the right specifically. 1. This -1 tells me to go where? Down 1. Okay, so that's 1, -1. Alright, and then I've got 4, -2. So start at the origin. 4 tells me to go where?
Right 4.
To the right 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. -2 tells me to go where? 1, 2. Yes, down 2. So step 1, we plot the points, then we draw the line. So I'm going to draw the line to connect those. Extend them a little. 4, -2. Alright, we go with that. Where's my... Oh, here it is. And then step 3, we're going to count our rise. Start at the bottom point. So I'm going to set up my rise over run. Okay with that? Rise over run's our little formula. And remember, we've got Romeo wants to be with Juliet, but he can't just travel straight to her or the family will catch him.
No, they already told.
He's got to waka waka to her. Okay.
Waka waka waka.
You got
Yep.
to walk to her.
Yep, he does. Alright, so we're going to rise first. Remember, we start at the bottom point. So we're going to rise how many to get closest to Juliet? 1. Yep, 1 gets us right there. We don't want to go past her, right? So you stop at 1. So my rise is it a positive 1 or a negative 1?
Positive.
Why?
Because you're going up.
Because we went up. It's a positive 1. Yep. The negative will come into play here in a second. And then we have to run to her. Run to Juliet. So we're going to run 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now notice we went to the left 3. So it'll be a -3. Very good. And 1 divided by -3 will give you an ugly repeating decimal. Slope needs to always be written as a fraction. Make a note. Leave as simplified fraction. Should have mentioned that earlier. That's okay. So 1 divided by -3 as a simplified fraction. 1 over 3 is simplified, so I'm just going to write it prettier as 1 over 3 with the negative like in line with the fraction bar. And that's it. Slope is -1/3. Any questions about it? Or confusions about it?
I got a question.
Yes.
How come on the first one we did it as 2, but you said we were simplified fractions?
Because 4 over 2 is
Exactly.
2. Yeah. I mean, you could write it as 2 over 1, but it's a little silly. You know what I mean? Yep. Good
So if
question.
it's not exact.
So if it's not a whole number, it needs to be a simplified fraction. Yes. And it'll be both. It'll be a mixture of whole numbers and fractions.
Oh, yeah,
Yep.
because you can't do 3.
Right. Yes. Good point. It's not 3 over 1. That was 1 over 3. So we left it as 1/3. Right. Exactly. Yep. And notice, think about this, a positive divided by a negative. Remember, different signs, negative, makes the whole fraction negative, right? Okay. All good points. All good points. You're so smart. Alrighty, let's do 2 more. 2 more and then we'll be done. I'm going to do the next example over here. Let's do, I want a certain, let's do -4, 3, and, and -4, -2. Okay? So let's find the slope between those 2 points on a line. Here we go. Do we think this is going to show up? I don't know. We're going to find out. Okay, so let's plot -4, 3. Where do I start?
The origin.
-4 tells me to go what direction?
Left.
Left 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 tells me to go where? Up 3. 1, 2, 3. And there's that.
It's kind of hard to see.
Is it hard to see on the... Oh, yeah, it is really hard to see. Yep. Just kidding. Let's do... We'll do this one. Alright, and then let's do -4, -2. So, starting at the origin, -4 tells me to go where?
Left.
Left 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. -2 tells me to go where?
Down.
Down 2, 1, 2.
Oh, we're going to do that.
Yes. Remember what type of slope is this? It's straight up and down. Bob would die, right? It's undefined, impossible to climb up or down. But I want to show you numerically by numbers why is it undefined. Okay, I want to do that by counting rise over run. So here we go. Next is to count our rise. So let's set up our rise and our run. So ready? Romeo and Juliet want to be together, but they can only waka waka to each other. Okay, start at the bottom. Okay, and technically I'm not supposed to travel along this line or I'm going to get caught, but alas, we're going to work through it and you're going to see why this doesn't work out. Alright, here we go. So I'm going to rise to get to her. It would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I just noticed something.
What?
You can't run.
Yes, very good. So I would rise up 5, but then I'm already there. So if I don't go anywhere, what would my run be? It would be nothing. And then in your calculators, let's see what mine says. When you put 5 divided by 0 in your calculator, 5 divided by 0. Error. Impossible. You cannot divide by 0. If you've ever asked Siri, like 5, what is 5 divided by 0? She'll be like, well, that's like you having 5 cookies divided by 0 friends. How many cookies does each friend get? It's not possible because you don't have any friends and you are sad. Right? You can't divide cookies divided by no friends. Yes, she really will say that. Yeah. Let me see. Let's see if it does. Siri, what's 5 divided by 0? Not gonna do it? Here. Yeah, hang on. Let's see. Let me unlock it. Right. Siri, what's 5 divided by 0?
The same as 6 divided by 0, undefined.
Oh, she doesn't say the cookie thing anymore. Say the cookie joke about dividing by 0. Oh, just listening. I promise she really used to say that. How do you spell Siri? Siri, joke about... Aha, there we go. About no friends. Oh, yeah, there it is.
Press it on.
Series old line.
Yeah.
She'll-
Oh, yeah. They changed it. That's so sad. I don't want to show you what it says on Reddit because you never know what people say on Reddit. But anyways, yeah. Anywho, what I said earlier, yeah, that's what she used to say at least. Well, it's probably, you know why? Because somebody probably said that's bullying, and then Apple had to take it down because, you know, woke culture. Here we are. All right. Anyways, I digress. So that is undefined. So you would literally put that symbol, or you would write undefined. There's not any like that on your homework, but you still, yeah, or classwork homework. So, but you still need to know about that. I'm hoping we all finish it because we got one more example and then you're going to start working on it.
What time is it?
It is 1:58. Last example. Here we go. We are going to do 1, 2, the slope between 1, 2, and 5, 2. 1, 2, and 5, 2. So, first, we're going to plot those points. Ready? So, starting at the origin, 1 tells me to go where?
Right one.
Right 1. 2 tells me to go where?
Oh,
Up 2. Romeo. And then we plot 5, 2. Starting at the origin, 5 tells me to go where?
Right.
Right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the edge. I'm on the edge. You doing this, Caden? And then 2 tells me to go where?
Up to.
There's my points. Draw a line. And we already know what kind of slope is this.
0, so.
Yes, so we're going to find out numerically why is this 0. Why is Bob not traveling up or down? And then we calculate rise over run. And here we go. So let's say you're supposed to start at the bottom point. There's not really a bottom point, is there?
So you go left.
Yeah, you can go left or right. So this is Romeo. Romeo, we need to rise. How many am I going to go up or down to get to Juliet?
2.
None, because I'm already in line with her. I don't need to go up, right? And I don't need to go down. So what is my rise then if I need to go nowhere?
0.
0, yep. And then I'm going to run to her. And then I'm going to run 1, 2, 3, 4. So what's my run if I went right 4?
4.
No,
Positive 4.
Yes, it's a positive 4 because I went right 4. And then 0 divided by 4 is possible. I have no cookies divided by my 4 friends. How many cookies does each friend get? None. Right.
Well, your
So,
friends are
so you have, it is 0. It's not undefined. It's not impossible. Because I do have my 4 friends. It's just we don't have any cookies because we started with no cookies.
Oh, so you had cookies like on the first
Yes, on this one I had 5 cookies and had no friends. So it's impossible. Yes. It's
That'll be fake. She was gone.
See, and I don't know why elementary teachers don't teach that way, because that's what 100% what I would do. All right, does that make sense? Any questions about that? So let me show on camera what the homework is. The homework is a maze. You know how I love a maze.
You know how much?
Okay, so you are going to start right here. It gives you the points, and it gives you a nice pretty graph. You don't have to draw the graph.
Oh, okay, I get it.
So you just plot the points, draw the line, rise over run it, and then here and you can actually look at this graph and tell is it a positive one or a negative one. That is totally legal if you want to do that, right? Because you technically don't have to do rise over run. You could look at it to see is it a positive slope or a negative slope, and then keep on going.
So we're
Right.
going to need an extra sheet of paper just to show work.
Well, I mean, you probably,
Oh,
it's up to you because you're going to rise over run on the graph. So you could literally just write your fraction in a quadrant you're not using.
Okay.
Because it's just, I mean, our work is literally just this. It's not much at all.
Yeah.
It's up to you. You can have a separate sheet if you want to, or you could write it on here. It doesn't matter to me. But
So
you're,
we did this.
yes, exactly. Yeah.
I just didn't get
All right. So that is calculating slope from a line.